Hi guys, my name is Eunice and this is my YouTube channel where I post DIYs, pattern drafting and sewing tutorials. Today's video will be learning on how to make a built-up slash scallop neckline. Now this style can be used in various types of clothing, adding a touch of elegance and uniqueness to an outfit. A scallop neckline is a style where the fabric of the neckline is cut in a series of rounded, semicircular or U-shaped curves resembling the shape of scallop shells. So now we know what a scallop neckline is. Let's get started on the pattern drafting. So just like the style, there is a princess that. So we'll be drafting our princess that first. This is my pattern paper and the tools that I'll be using to draft out this pattern. So then this is my half scale basic bodies. If you watch our previous tutorial on how to draft a basic bodies, although that's a full scale, you'll be able to draft this. So then I've already gone ahead to draft this down. So next thing on the back half length, I'll be going up by 2 inches, which is the dart that I took at the front side. So I'm just going to remove that 2 inches. And then what is left is going to be my back half length. So this is now going to be my new half length for the back. So next thing I'm going to go ahead to label all of the lines so you'll be able to understand where I am pointing. So for the back, I'll just label my shoulder, my chest line, which is my arm side length, and then my half length. Then I'll do the same thing for the front side. But for this front side, I'll label my bust point, my under bust, and my half length because this is a princess dart. To achieve the built-up neckline, you have to use your accurate neck width and neck depth measurement for the front and the back. So to get those measurements, we'll be making use of these calculations. You divide your bust circumference, which is your bust measurement, by 12, and then what I have is 3.25. So that 3.25 is going to be the width of my front and back neckline, which is the length is going to be 3.25. Then the depth of the front neckline is also going to be 3.25. So the front neckline is basically 3.25 by 3.25. I hope you get that. Then for the back neckline, to get the back neckline, you'll be dividing that 3.25 by 3. Then whatever you get is going to be the depth of your back neckline. So the 3.25, I divided it into 3. I got 1.08, which is approximately 1 inch. So then my back neckline is going to be 3.25 by 1 inch. So I'll go ahead to cross check the neckline. Now if it's not correct, you go ahead to draft it again. So I've already drafted the accurate neckline that I need. So then the next thing I'm going to do is to draft out the built up neckline for the back. So at this point, our concentration will be on the back first. Then after we're done drafting the back, we'll switch to the front side. So then to draft the built up neckline for the back, I'll go up by 2 inches on my shoulder line. Just watch closely so you'll be able to understand it. So as you can see, I gave a little space on my pattern paper at the upper part when drafting it so as to draft out my built up neckline. So I went up by 2 inches. Now I'm going to connect from my shoulder to that 2 inches vertically upwards. And then I'm also going to mark that's my 3.25 neckline starting from the 2 inches, and then I'm going to connect the lines together to form a square or a rectangle, anyone. So then the next thing I'm going to do is from the zipper allowance side, which is my neckline area, I'll come down by half an inch and then I'll connect to the 2 inch point. So guys, I figured that my camera did not capture that part very well, so I'm going to explain again. So I first of all went up with 2 inches from my shoulder line and then I connected with a straight ruler. Then from that 2 inches point, I marked my neck width, which was 3.25. Then I connected all the points together to form a square. So then the next thing I did was to come down by half an inch at the top of the box to form my new neckline. So I'll be using my curved ruler to connect it, and this is going to be my new neckline. So after doing that, I'll just extend it outside to my zipper allowance with my curved ruler. So I'll just go ahead to mark my zipper allowance. After doing that, I'll be using 1.5 inch for the zipper allowance. So after connecting all the points, I'll go ahead to use my marker to make everything more visible so y'all can see. So the next thing to do at this point is to curve my shoulder at the back. So I'll be making use of 2 centimeter, and I'll just use my pen to just form a curve, or you can use your curved ruler to draft out your curve. But if you can't use your curved ruler, just use your pen to try and sketch out the curve, just a little curve. So then after doing this, I'll just make it clearer with my marker so you can see what I have done. So then this is my new neckline for the back, and this is my new shoulder line for the back pattern. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to eliminate the zip budge at the back. Now this is only because it's going to be a gown, but if you're making it as a peplon top, then you don't really need it, or you can just do it. So what I went to do is I came in by half an inch on the zipper allowance. The next thing, from my neck depth, I'll divide what I have from my neck to my chest line into two. Then I'll connect from that point to the half inch. So then after doing that, I'll go ahead to bring back that half inch to the side of the bodice. Now, if you don't bring back that half inch you eliminated, it's going to reduce from your measurements. So I explain again in case you did not get it the first time. So what I'm doing now is to eliminate zip budge from the back of your dress. So I went ahead to divide from what I have on my actual neckline to my chest line into two. Then I came in by half an inch from my zipper allowance line. Now that is going to slant your zipper allowance a bit. So now after doing that, I'll connect from that point, which is half of my shoulder to chest line length, and I'll connect it to that half inch. So this is how you eliminate zip bulge from your back of your dress. So after I'm done with this, I'll go ahead to cut out my pattern, but I'll first of all use my marker to just make the lines visible so you can see it more clear. So the next thing I'm going to do is to style my back. Now from the chest line, I'll be coming down by half an inch, and then I'll connect that to my arm side using my curved ruler, just the way you see me doing like this. So next thing I'm going to do is draw an outline of where my back neckline is going to be. So I'll just connect from the shoulder line down to my chest line using my straight ruler. So the next thing I'm going to do, from my former neck depth, which is my main neck depth, I'll be coming down by 1 inch. Then after doing that, I'll go ahead to mark how deep I want the circle to be, the half circle to be. So I'll make use of 2.5 inch. Now you can go ahead to measure anything you like. So I'm just doing this is not a standard measurement. I'm just trying to sketch out the back my own way. So from that 1 inch I measure 2.5 inch. The next thing I'm going to do is try and connect the points together using my pencil. So I'll use my pencil to draw out a curve. Because I can't use my curved ruler, so I will just go ahead to sketch it out And then after I've gotten the exact shape I want, I'll use my marker to make it clearer. Now after I'm done with that, I'll come down again by 2 inches and then I'll connect to meet with my dart at the center back. So I'll use my curve ruler for this point. Then after I'm done, I will remove the zipper allowance from the yoke part because that upper part is now going to be the yoke part. So I'll remove the zipper allowance because this particular style at the back has buttons. So we'll not be needing the zipper allowance for that yoke part anymore. Then after doing that, I'll go ahead to cut out my pattern. So just watch closely and see how I'm doing it. So I'll keep the back pattern aside and then I'll go ahead to draft out my front pattern. So first of all, I'll be drafting the process that. So first thing I'm going to do is divide my shoulder into two and then I'll make a point there. Then from that point, I'll connect to my nipple point, which is my bust point, with my straight ruler. So after doing that, at the center front on my first dart leg on the under bust, I'll take half an inch. Then after marking that point there, I'll place my tape on from that dart that I took, that half an inch dart, and mark 2.5 inch on the other side. I hope you can understand what I'm explaining. So guys, to just follow me closely. So I'll explain again. From the first dart leg with the marker, like the original dart, I'll measure half an inch. Then I'll place my tape from that half an inch point that I marked already and mark 2.5 inch on the other side of my bodice. So then that 2 points I marked, I'm going to connect them to the dart on the half length. After doing that, I'll be using my curved ruler to connect from my nipple point to the dart on the underbust, to the new dart on the underbust. And I'll do the same thing for the side part. So I hope you get that. Now this dart that I took is to tighten your underbust. So the next thing I'm going to do is close down my bust darts. Now to do that, I'll first of all cut out the shoulder line. Just watch love. First of all, open up the shoulder line so as to close down my bust darts. So I'm not cutting out the whole of the pattern. You will see the reason why later on. So I'll just go ahead to open up the shoulder dart line. So then after I've done open up the shoulder line, I'll go ahead to fold my bust dart. So I'll fold that marker line and then place on top of the bust point line. Just as you see me doing like so. And then I'll go ahead to secure it with my sellotape. So then I'll go ahead to reconnect the body measurement at the side because after I folded the bust dart, the measurements now shifted. So then after doing that, I'll go over to my shoulder line and I'll measure what I have on that space. So that space on my shoulder line after I open up the shoulder dart and close out the bust dart is 2.5 inch. Then I'll divide that into four. So I just went ahead to fold my tape twice and then fold it again. So what I have is 0.75. So I'll mark 0.75 at the shoulder line and then at the arm cycle line. So then I'll use that to connect to form my new arm cycle. Now guys, if you're finding this difficult to understand, if you don't get what I've explained, you can go back again to watch. I'm trying to make this video not to be too long. So then I'll reconnect with my marker and that is now going to be my new arm cycle. So I'll connect that to my shoulder line. So that 0.75 I brought out to get my new arm sike is the dart I'm going to take on my shoulder line, which I've not taken yet. So I'll go ahead to mark 0.75 on the side part of my shoulder and then connect that to my bust point, just as you see me doing like so. So now I'll go ahead to close down the shoulder that 0.75 inch is what I've already gone ahead to replace for my new arm sike. So to close down the shoulder that I'll just remove the tape from my bust that. I only close down the bust that to be able to get my shoulder that measurement. So for the shoulder darts to be easy to close, you go ahead and just open up the darts at the underbust to half length. Then after opening it up, you can go ahead to secure the shoulder darts with your sellotape. So after taping it down, I'll go ahead to divide my arm sike into two, which is the new arm sike, and it is 4 inches. So I'll mark a point there. Then from that point on the new arm sike, I'll be using my curved driller to connect to my bust points to form my princess dart. So I'll first of all be using a pen to get a fine shape, and then I'll use my marker to make it clearer. So guys, I'm sorry for this distraction on the camera. At this point I was having issue with my phone, but you can still see what I'm doing. So what I went ahead to do was extend my shoulder line using my curved driller upwards. So after extending it, I'll mark 2 inches from my shoulder point. That 2 inches was the 2 inches I went up with on the back neckline. So I'll mark exact 2 inches, and then I'll use my marker to just make it clear. Then after doing that, I'll determine how deep I want my neckline to be. Now this depends on your preference. You can make use of 7 inches or 8 inches. I made use of 8 inches. So I'll go ahead to mark 8 inches there. And then from that 8 inch point, I'll mark my 3.25 neck width, and then I'm just going to connect the line together to form a square. So this is just to indicate where my neckline is going to be. So after doing that, I'll just go ahead to draft out the style line that we're making use of, which is the scallop neckline. Now there are several types of scallop neckline which I've showed you before from the beginning, but this is the type that we're going after. This is what we want to do. So I'll use the picture to try and illustrate. Now there is no measurement for this. I'm just using my free hand to create it to make it look like the picture. Though you can still follow my measurements because it still worked for me. So from that 8 inch point, I'll go up by 2 inches, and then I'll connect to form my sweetheart neckline first of all. So I extended the line a bit closer to my shoulder dart line. So then for my shoulder line, I sketched a curve using my pencil to form that shape that you're seeing on the phone, and then I ended the point on the box line. So then from that point, I'll be connecting to where my sweetheart neckline also ended. So I'll be connecting those 2 points to form another curve, just as the picture. So after I was done getting the style that I want, I'll be using my marker to make it visible. So after drafting out the neckline that I want, I'll be putting in my measurements and then add my sewing allowance. So I've already gone ahead to draft out the bust and the half length. So I'll just go ahead to add my sewing allowance of 1.5 inch. So I noticed that the side part was not showing on the camera, but what I went ahead to do was to take out the dart that I removed from the underbust, and then I replaced the dart back. But if you've been watching any of our previous videos, our princess darts video, shoulder darts video, then you'll be able to understand what I did. And then I handed my sewing allowance. So the next thing I'm going to do is to check and make sure that the shoulder line of the front and the back are equal. So I'll go ahead to measure the back shoulder line, and what I have there is 6.5. Then at the front shoulder line, there was a little bit of difference. So I'll go ahead to trim that out from the arm side. But make sure that the both shoulders are equal before you cut. So at this point, we've come to the end of the class, but I'll go ahead to cut it so you see how I cut my princess darts. And then at this point in time, if you're yet to subscribe after watching this amazing video, please do subscribe to this channel, and also please give this video a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. Also, if you're finding any parts difficult here, you can drop your questions on the comment section and I will do well to reply you. So after removing the darts on the underbust, I'll go ahead to close down my bust darts finally using my paper tape. And also, if there is any difference in the side measurement, just like the way I did it the first time, that there was a little bit of difference, you can go ahead to use your paper to reconnect it again, reconnect the side part so that it will be equal. So guys, this is what I'm explaining. As you can see, the side part was no longer equal. So what I went ahead to do was to add a little piece of pattern paper, and then I reconnected the side part again. I just extended it straight up. Then I also went ahead to connect it to my arm side. So now I'm going to cut out that piece and then cut out the neckline design. So guys, this is the final pattern look of the built up scallop neckline. So I'll go ahead to place this on my fabric and then have half-inch sewing allowance all around the side seam. So this is it after I finished cutting it. I added half-inch sewing allowance all around the seams and on the shoulder line. Then I added 1.5 inch to the side part for my sewing allowance, and then half-inch all around the scallop neckline, and then also 1.5 inch for my sewing allowance for the front parts. So then after doing this, I also iron my canvas, also known as interfacing, on my fabric, and then I cut on my lining the same shape. So guys, next thing I'm going to do, or the last thing I'm going to do, is show you how to cut your bra foam to pad your princess darts bustier. Now the measurements to use: from my arm side, I'll go down by 2 inches, and then from the center front, I'll be coming down by 1 inch or half an inch from the neckline. So I'll just connect that points together and then connect my underbust. So that part is just going to be where my pad will be. And then for the princess dart area, I'll also come down by 2 inch. And then from the midpoint, I'll mark 4 inch, which is on the bust point line. Then I'll connect the 3 points together. Then when you're cutting your pad, you had your half-inch allowance, which is just what I did on the fabric. So this is my bust pad that I've finished cutting. So in the next tutorial, I'll show you how I stitched it to achieve the final look. So thank you guys for watching. See you next time, and don't forget to subscribe.